It's
Nigeria,
still it's a good token to be bought. Yeah.
no, I want to position myself that I was about buying it now. I bought a 100 units. Let me just at least let me know something.
If I sell it, I'm going to.
You're going to
I said even if I sell it at the peak of this bull run, I'm going to buy it back during the bear market.
okay, so it's worth it, I mean.
I think so. I've used the exchange. Um, I think that they seem to have a target market in size. That target market picks it, then it has very strong potentials.
It means it can behave like Binance in the future.
Like Uniswap,
Okay, like so.
that's the same.
Hello, Dr. Lalire, can you hear me?
So it's another week of weekly review of cryptocurrency markets. I'll be talking you through some critical events for this week and things to watch out for, especially in the next 2 weeks. So, without much ado, let's get started. Um, I believe I'm sharing my screen. It should be visible to the guys on Instagram. If you have any question or comments, just type it in. I'll peep from time to time and I'll give you an answer. If you have your questions on Zoom, just type in your questions. So let's get started. Today, we'll quickly go through the market updates as usual. Then we'll talk through what I think is happening on the markets, a bit of technical analysis, and we'll answer the question whether the bull run is over or not. Okay. So let's get started. In terms of this week, I think this week was a very, very interesting and important one, Bitcoin, and that's because it's the first time a sovereign state declared Bitcoin as legal tender. So El Salvador went live on Bitcoin this week, and Ukraine also passed a very significant law accepting Bitcoin as legal tender for the. I think it's a very significant step. Remember, we mentioned, I think about 4 or 6 weeks ago, that this was going to move the market. It's a significant milestone. And of course, it's almost like, you know, it happens in most equity markets. Buy the rumor, sell the news. So that news was already priced in. So when they came, market just crashed, corrected itself. And basically, Bitcoin lost 50K level. And that leads to a lot of question. Is it bull run over? Is this a lower high than the high of 64K? Meaning, is this the end? for the beginning of the end. A number of questions to answer, but I think I'll be able to provide you some reasonable answers during the course of today's session. In terms of sentiment, short time is bearish, no doubt, and bullish sentiment still there. Medium term, we'll probably see Bitcoin sits in the 40K region for the next, I would say, 10 days. Yeah, I would say 10 days. I won't say 2 weeks. I would say the next 10 days or 7, 8 days. And that's due to a number of reasons. Huge constellation of reasons that I think will make the market that way. In terms of how do we play this? Remember I said last Saturday that it was a good time to take some profits. That was Saturday before this crash. So if you're taking some profits, you might look to start buying now or wait till Bitcoin touches the 42, 43K region again. I suspect it will do that once more, probably by mid next week. Going by what I'm looking at on the charts right now. And I mean, the number of things that suggest that we're likely to remain in the 40s region at least for a week before any possible upside. And as I always say, the market is designed to take the most money from the most people. So because of that, it's always imperative that you try to think like the market makers. It's like playing chess. If I'm playing chess and you give me an opening gambit that I know is going to wreck any move I make, my king side, what I will try to do is to play on my queen side. I mean, apologies for people who don't play chess. But basically, like playing chess, you're trying to preempt what the person will do. Then, depending on how skilled you are, or how advanced you are as a chess player, you can predict, cast 5, 10, 8, 12 steps, depending on how good you are. So basically what they're doing is they're playing chess with market psychology, knowing fully well that newbies and inexperienced investors and traders and speculators will always respond to price action. So because of that, set up the market in a way that people are wrong in their expectations of the market. So we'll come back to that. We'll come to that shortly. But before going to that, it's important to note that Binance has been cleared by the Financial Conduct Authority of the UK, which means all the fraud I told you about was all noise and politics. They've not done anything wrong, and they've been officially cleared now of the quote unquote wrongdoing. Yeah. So Ukraine is a particularly interesting country in terms of currency and what I'll call the effects of central banking, because Ukraine is a country torn between the European Union and Russia, and because of that tension and war and all that, their currency has not been doing well. So their monetary policy has been very weak. And of course, they take euros as legal tender. But adopting crypto, or specifically Bitcoin, I think will help them. Along with El Salvador, El Salvador story is almost like a fairy tale. I know there are many monster nations that are trying to get at them and make sure they do succeed. But if they manage it well, I think the citizens and the people of that land better for. So we all know that Bitcoin crashed 20% on Bitcoin Day. It was on the 9th of September. So like we have 9/11, we have 9/9. 9/9 is now Bitcoin Day. With that crash, we have a very dangerous looking market setup, because if you are to consider the candlestick pattern on a daily chart, it looks like we're in for a bearish correction, not just a bearish correction, a bearish short term. But there are two things that are incongruous. Let me use that word. There are two things that are incongruous with that market structure. One is that market structure was largely caused by what I'll call the derivative markets. So I've talked about derivative markets. I mentioned that derivative markets is where people trade the price of the assets as opposed to the assets itself. So the derivative market had a lot of people leverage on loans. What the whales literally do is just go to the derivative market and unload huge tons of cash on the price of Bitcoin to push the price down. Once they're able to push the price down, what then happens is that people who are holding long positions are forced to liquidate their position, because if you're holding a leverage position, there's only so far you can take a loss. When the loss goes past your stop loss or your liquidation point, you will be forced to sell that long into the market. Now, that forced selling is what pushes down the price. So if there's too many, and I talk about funding rate a while ago, if the funding rate is too high, meaning there are too many people in leverage position, it's very easy for market makers to wipe off people's positions. Ordinarily, because what it then means is that so many people have borrowed money from the exchange, they come long position on the price of Bitcoin with the hope that price is going to go higher and they're going to make profit. But what they do is to counter their trade and sell huge tons of cash against that price, forcing them to sell back their Bitcoin at a lower price. Not their Bitcoin now, but the price of their Bitcoin at a lower price. And in some cases, they're Bitcoin because there are people that use coin-derived, what's it called, futures. So they have to sell at a lower price at a loss. And that selling pressure that happened within a very short period of time forces the markets downwards. And that's what they do. That's what they did in April as well, in May actually, when the price crashed down suddenly. Because once you do that, not only do you wipe off the derivatives markets, but I think about 3-point-something billion or 4 billion was wiped off on Wednesday by that stuff. Not only do you wipe off traders on that market, the market makers make a lot of money from that. And because they make a lot of money from that, they're also able to buy Bitcoin at a cheaper price. So again, I've explained this before, but just to explain it so that people understand what's going on in the background. As a market maker, to buy more Bitcoin for cheap, I load my position with, let's say, a lot of Bitcoins or a lot of USDT. USDT is better. And then I start shorting the price of Bitcoin in huge volumes. Now, if I succeed in shorting it, meaning there's no whale that is countering my shorts with buy positions, what it means is that the market price suddenly drops sharply. And when it drops sharply like that, it hits a lot of stop loss that automatically sells people's Bitcoin at a loss. On the way down, it also hits people's liquidation price, meaning the price at which your long position have to be automatically sold into the market if you don't put a stop loss. Because of that cascade, the cascade is the right word for that. Because of that cascade, the price of Bitcoin automatically falls. There is more Bitcoin to be sold at a lower price for whales. So the whales just sit down maybe at 20%, 30% below the market price and buy it up. And that's exactly what's happened in this last one. Why have I taken pain to explain? It's important to know how this works, because when the bear market starts, it's going to happen like this. Now, there are a lot of people that are already saying, it's a bear market. We topped out at 64K. Now we've topped out at 50, early 52 plus. That is a lower high, and as a result, it's a bear market. Well, there's a significant technical case for that, but on the other hand, the fundamentals are not in alignment. And example of fundamentals is exchange outflows. Exchange outflows have been reducing, and that has been consistent for the past 10 weeks. Before 10 weeks, which was immediately after media, the exchange outflow increased because the whales were selling off Bitcoin on the exchanges to push down the price. But since then, basically, exchange household has been dropping, meaning people have been withdrawing Bitcoins from the exchanges into external wallets. And since the drop on Wednesday, nothing has happened on the spot market. So all that crash, all the carnage that happened on Wednesday happened in the derivatives markets. In the spot markets, even though the price crashed, people have been buying the dip. So the volume of Bitcoin is reducing. Meanwhile, people are still buying the dip. So that tells me, and then number of new addresses has plateaued. So while it has not reduced, it has plateaued, meaning people are still holding on to their Bitcoin. So there are two schools of thought from where we are. Some people feel like we are in for the beginning of the end. Another school of thought is, okay, this is a much needed correction because as you see from the greed and fear index, we are already tending to extreme greed when the price had not really done anything significant. So that's about Bitcoin. I'll confirm my thesis when I take you to the technical analysis on the charts. Ethereum, of course, younger brother of Bitcoin, sank lower on the back of the Bitcoin crash. But what I wanted to say about Ethereum is that I think Ethereum may underperform in the near term. It will still perform. I mean, probably get to 5 digits like 10K or 15K or 16K within the next 1 year, or shorter. But there are too many competitors now that are rolling out, and that automatically dilutes the market share. Because it dilutes the market share, it becomes difficult for Ethereum to move as rapidly as it would have in times past. But I still hold little Ethereum just as a backup. But it's important to note that, and it's important to note that Ethereum does serve as like a gauge of how altcoins are faring, generally speaking. Cardano is the next thing I'm talking about. Cardano is launching a Daedalus wallet. The Daedalus wallet is a decentralized wallet like Trust Wallet for those people who know decentralized wallets. And this will help people to be able to keep their Cardano offline, probably with staking as well, on-chain staking. I'm going to have a class on staking. I don't know when be the best time, but I think maybe in the next 3 weeks, I'm going to conduct a class on staking and passive income or multi-year income in crypto. So Cardano is setting up for that, obviously, and we expect to see some pump on the price of Cardano. The back of this and the back of the fact that there's a Cardano conference happening later in the month. In another news, there was a survey that was carried out that showed that 27% of Americans want Bitcoin, not crypto actually, Bitcoin as legal tender in the US. It's it's a sentiment that shows the nature of how people are viewing crypto in the US, and I think it's a sign of things to come. Swiss government has just approved a particular exchange based in Switzerland called SIX. This exchange applied to become a digital assets marketplace operator. So they just got that license this week, meaning that the Euro region is going to have an addition to the exchanges we already have. There are quite a number of them. There's Swissborg. Swissborg is that app that helps people in the UK to easily on-ramp and off-ramp. And I think this will probably be an addition to that. Texas is trying to amend its constitution to put Bitcoin to the constitution. I don't know the details of this news, but it's interesting because I would have thought that Texas was a conservative state and they weren't going to be into things like this. But on the contrary, I think Texas is actually actively is the word, is actively taking steps to ensure that it's not left behind in the adoption of cryptocurrencies, both as a member of the mining ecosystem and also providing legal and judicial framework for regulating crypto. So it will be interesting to see how this turns out. For people who are not aware, some of the miners that left China earlier in the year have actually found their ways to the United States. One of the states, I'm sure of Wyoming, I'm sure of Florida, I'm sure of Texas. I know New York was trying to get itself in the fray, but I mean, they don't have as much land as Texas, starters. So whichever state, I think Wyoming is in the lead by far right now because they already have like a lot of legal framework and institutional framework for crypto. So far down the line in terms of adoption. But it's obvious that many other states and even cities are positioning themselves to get in the fray. Now, regardless of what institutions are saying, so always remember that institutions will do the opposite, exact opposite of what they're saying. And that's because if they're trying to get to a market for cheap, trying to run down the market so that they can buy whatever it is for cheap. So hold on, please. Yeah, so in terms of coin spotlight for this week, my coin spotlight is on Elrond. Elrond for me is a very, I don't want to say sad story. It's a funny story because I mean I used to have a lot of Elrond in 2020. But at some point towards the end of the year, I felt I needed money and I was like, and this thing is not moving as fast. So I started selling them, and the ones I didn't sell that was staked when Elrond was converted from Elrond to Eagle, I didn't change it. I mean, I was just lackadaisical about it, and eventually I changed that. I sold stuff, but shortly after I did was when price of Elrond began to literally skyrocket, like literally went. And because of that, I've been I won't want to say watching from afar. I've been watching from a distance, and you're like that ex-boyfriend that can't go back to the girl, and you're watching the girl very happy. But nevertheless, I've kept Elrond close to my
Sorry for laughing out loud, please.
I've kept Elrond close to my rear view mirror, so to say, because I think something's about to with Elrond. I'm going to show you something. This is the daily chart of Elrond. And just to explain what I was saying, this was 2020 when they launched. When they launched, this was when they did the swap, sorry. When they originally were called Elrond, before they became EGLD. So when they changed to EGLD, was selling at $10, $12. And for most part of September, yeah, it came down to like $6, $7. I think I sold mine when it was 10 because I felt okay. Since it had gotten back to the previous high or was going on this way back to the previous high, yeah, I must have sold around this period between 15 and 20. So I sold here, feeling cool with myself. Then I left it. Then all of a sudden in January, somebody just said, Elrond is beginning to pump. I'm like, what do you mean? Yes, that was the end of January. And Elrond was, yeah, close to $50. And I mean, I totally left it. And from then, end of January to literally like 8 days later, I shot as high as 200. Of course, I felt, it was already overhyped and has pumped. So there was no way or there was no point getting involved any longer. Of course, I was sort of justified a few days later when towards the end of February, it was back to like 88. By that time, I think I had all my coins, I had all my funds locked up in other coins. So I didn't really, take it seriously until in March when it started pumping again. And this time went as far as 45. Of course, because of the market crash and everything, went down with the market the 21st of July, like everybody else. Now you can see that 21st of July, when it was 66 to now, it has done like 40%. I mean, sorry, 4x. The reason I'm bringing up Elrond is because I need to show you the normative so that I'm not talking in a vacuum. The reason I'm bringing up Elrond is many people have asked me and they're looking for, I want to use the word bulletproof, but they're looking for, very strong projects that have guaranteed use cases and are going to be around for a while. And I think Elrond is one of them. As you can see, it's currently ranked 39. In my projection, I think Bitcoin has the capacity to do about 4 or 5x from where we are now. If that happens, what will happen is Elrond will probably do like 5x from today's position. That's $1,000. While that seems like a very far cry, I think it's really very possible. And the reason is that it's promising to provide a better ecosystem that provides faster transactions. And once the internet starts to run its smart contract, then you easily see that there is a possible market for Elrond. The same way I talked about Solana in times past, about the ecosystem they have and the fact that they have funding. I think Elrond is also like that. They got some funding in times past. And the mechanism for, as language that, but it's like breaking up work packages on the blockchain as opposed to dumping them together. So this is supposed to be fast. So it's one of those that I have in my insights. As a general rule, let me just say that because I get a lot of questions about, okay, is this coin good? Is this coin bad? Is this coin good? Is this coin bad? As a general rule, what you need to understand is that if you look at a coin and you look at its recent high, and then you look at the current price, and the current price is less than 50% from the recent high, meaning it has dropped more than 50%, you have a very good opportunity to profit when we hit all-time high. How do I mean? Let me give you an example. This coin is really largely unknown. It's called Eternity. By the way, it was 0.08 and 0.09 just yesterday. And the reason it caught my attention is like, it just came to my mind and I'm like, okay, let me check out this coin. And all of a sudden I discovered that the coin actually had been around since 2017. And in 2018, during the last bull run, went up as high as $5. So it got me thinking that how come nobody's talking about this coin? I went up as $5 and it's currently trading, literally like 12 cents. And so I said, okay, let me check what it has done in the last 1 year. And this was like an aha moment because all of a sudden I'm looking at this chart and I see that at the beginning of the year it was 8 cents. By the time we picked out both peaks, both the April peak and the May peak in altcoins, it did 45 cents. Now, I don't know about you, but if something went from 8 to 45 or 9 to 45, that's 5x in one run. In each run. So if you got in here and you cashed out here on the way back, you got 5x. So right now, if I'm looking at this and I buy now, the minimum expectation is that we're going to hit this all-time high again. That's the minimum, which is I mean, from where we are now, that's almost 4x from where we are now. And where you can see that actually is if you now want to benchmark against all-time highs, I mean, benchmarking this against all-time highs is insane. It's almost like 30x or something, or 40x. Can't remember the calculation. I done my maths. But where I'm going is, yeah, this is where I'm going. If you look at the change from all-time high, which was 3 years ago, it's 97% off its all-time high. If for any reason it gets near its all-time high, anybody that invests in this coin will cash out big time. So if you want to know about any coin and you're asking about any, or you want to ask me about any coin, come to CoinMarketCap first and check what I just showed you. It gives you a good idea. And the only reason this is valid for now is because no matter how low Bitcoin goes in the current pullback, even if it goes to 40K, one thing is sure, the leg up is going to be mad and it's going to be very crazy. Like people will not have the time to react to it. And it's going to be very swift. I mean, in times past, it's taking maybe like 6 to 8 weeks for it to get from mid-range to all-time high. It might be shorter this time because people are much more aware of the market. So it might just be 4 crazy weeks of like eager long candles. And before you know it, it's all over. But getting into things like this at this time is a significant leverage, because what it means is that you cash out on supernormal profits easy. I mean, while there's no guarantee that it will do $5 like it did the last time, but even if it just does half of that, which is 2.5, I mean, that's still huge. And they will all, most coins, except they have a project problem or they are rug pulled or they're hacked, most coins will react automatically when the price of Bitcoin does go to new all-time high. So I just thought I'll mention that in regards to point of the day, which is Elrond. For people who are looking for some stability, consider Elrond. I know somebody asked me about QNT as well. It's the same quant. It's the same story. If you look at how quant has performed in recent time, you find out that this is it's really in price discovery. The good thing about price discovery is that there's a possibility that okay, but you don't know how much more in terms of gas it has in its tank to go up. So if Bitcoin does 4x from now, of course, you can expect that this do 4 to 8x naturally, if not on its own accord, just on the trend. So because of that, it's important to know that when you're looking at any token, if the token is very active, you should consider what the previous all-time is, and you should consider what is likely to be. But this one, I mean, it's anybody's guess, because really this token was 2019, and I mean it's done a massive run up until now. It's selling at 350 now. Its supply is close. It's almost like 14 million, which is small, and that's probably why the price is skyrocketing. And circulating, so we already have 83% of circulating supply, so no amount of down from the founders can affect the price significantly now. Personal opinion, I think maybe 2 or 3x, but on the strength of the back of on the price gain of Bitcoin, it could do a bit more higher, could still go a little too higher than that. So that's that. In terms of where we are for market cap, we've seen a drop about almost 400 billion on the markets just in the last, not even up to that, in the last 4 days. And that's because the sell-off on Monday meant, people will have taken off money from the markets. There are people that are paranoid about the last bull run, because the last bull run caught many people unawares, and we're like, this time we're not going to hold the bags. We're going to sell at every opportunity. Technically speaking, this bull run comes to an end from a mathematical progression on the 23rd, plus or minus 1 week of September. Now, if you minus 1 week from 23rd of September, let me just put that in. If you minus 1 week from 23rd of September, that puts you at 16. Now, if the cycle ends on the 16th of September, we have not pumped. Like, we are literally in a downtrend, or in a short-term downtrend right now. So here's my thesis. I think the cycle is going to end on the 30th of September. And then there will be a pump of Bitcoin price, the new all-time high. Then from there, we'll see subsequent pump of altcoins. And then there'll be a lot of noise about Bitcoin and altcoins, and everybody will be talking about crypto again. And then we'll go into December and everything will die down. Or, it might be a rave that will go into December and into the new year. And people are still shouting about Bitcoin, meanwhile the cycle is over. This cycle is going to be a bit different. I'm going to talk about that later, maybe in 2 or 3 weeks' time, because we now have institutional demand that will be putting pressure on the price of Bitcoin on the spot markets. So even though we might be in bear markets from 2022 on and off, I think the price will stay in a range. I don't know what range it is. It might go to 300K or 200K and come back to 99 or 90K or 60K. But the price is going to stay in a range for a while. But it's going to gradually increase, even though we're in bear market. Somebody said I should talk about it. To be honest, I this internet when it came out, because the name sounded like scam to me. Because like, what's the name? Coin. And when it came out, yeah, I remember that was actually why I stepped away from it. When it came out, it was selling as high as it was selling as high as $400. And I was like, where did this stuff come from? What is it doing that's it's so so valuable? And I couldn't convince myself that there was anything valuable of it. I mean, I think it was just the hype. And I still think it's the hype, because I mean, its total supply is almost 500 million, and it's already was already selling at 400 in the peak. This dump that you've seen since then is evidence that something is wrong. I might be wrong, but this dump not usual. Even though many of the other coins are dumps, but we don't have benefit of history on ICP. Tell us that okay, this was the all-time high before this current bull run. This particular token came up with current bull. I doubt if it will survive this bull run, to be honest. It might go back. It might go back up, maybe to 450. But I'm not a huge fan. I'm still not a huge fan. The same sentiment I had when I saw it back in the same sentiment. I don't think that I don't think it has any to bring in any additional value to the market. So there's a lot of English being spoken in terms of what they want to do. They provide a better platform than Ethereum and Bitcoin. But then there are tons of other guys that are doing the same thing. So right now, I don't know. And they don't have any smart contracts or anything. Right now they're still getting people to run the nodes. I can't give any recommendation on ICP. I'm sorry. You buy at your own risk. That's what I'm saying. For other guys, I can say, because I've seen what they've done in times past. Have history of the market structure. This one doesn't have any price still. It was just a pump at the onset of the launch of the coin, and it's been dumping since then. If they have a good team, it might be a very good project against the next bull run. Otherwise, I'm steering clear. I'm still steering clear. Thank you for bringing it up, though. But I'm still steering clear. I might be wrong. Rather be wrong than venture. In terms of fear and greed index, we've suddenly reset to neutral. Neutral is an indication that all the greed in the market has been wiped out. So for now, last week we went as far as 75 actually before the market makers decided to knock out boys, and everybody sort of became gentle. Everybody became gentle and we chilled and quickly rearranged ourselves. So right now, as you can see, we're in a buy range again. I think this will happen on the way up a lot of times, where the market will pump by 200 or 100%, then crash by 30%, and wipe out leverage, and everybody thinks it's back till we eventually get to all-time high for Bitcoin. Somebody asked me a question. You have the same sentiment for CSS? I meant the same. No. CSS is different. CSS is a DeFi platform. They already have their DEX running. What I'm saying about these guys is that they don't have any solution running. They're just saying, our blockchain is better, and the blockchain is less than 6 months old. From a hacking perspective, it's still very, very susceptible to 50% hack because of the way it's structured. That's ICP, that is. It's still very, very susceptible to 50% hack because of the way it's structured, and because they're on their own chain. We don't know who the node runners are. It might just be their own servers and a few people, meaning that anybody can come in with a powerful server and hack them and make a way. But for many of the guys like ICP, I think it's an hold on, for not ICP, for CSS, I think it's an Ethereum token. And it has a DeFi. So they have a use case. CSS is already running a swap, a DEX swap that you can monetize your tokens or other things. So yes, this is CSS. CSS has been dropping. I guess probably due to people saying, okay, yeah. So CSS is on Binance chain, which is huge. Binance chain has a massive ecosystem, and that's because Binance already has very large user community across the globe. So you have the Binance US, Binance Turkey, Binance Hong Kong, Binance Binance Arabic. There's Arabic, Binance Arabic as well. So Binance is already a lot of stuff all over the world, and what it means is that anytime there is a launch on Binance chain or a token on Binance chain, all they need to do now is to push CSS to Binance, as in the centralized exchange. Then you see the price go crazy. So right now, I think it's good accumulation time for CSS. I think the price will definitely go back to at least 350 in the short term. But I'm accumulating it for a longer time because I've seen some of the stuff they have on their roadmap. And I think the fair value, they already have audit certification, and it's just one is just how many months away. August. Is it August? Yeah. Okay, sorry. It launched on CoinMarketCap in August, but I think it launched originally around April or May. Hold on a second. Okay, it's not. Yeah. I think it launched on PancakeSwap in April or May, if I'm very correct. So they initially want PancakeSwap. Now they have their own swap called CoinSwap. So this the worlds apart, to be honest, worlds apart from ICP. ICP might be a good project in the long run. I'm not saying that. So as I said, I can keep an eye on it for the next bull run. But as far as I know, it's a promise. So just for context, why I say it's a promise. In the last bull run, coins just pump on the nature of their promise. They didn't have to do anything. They didn't have to have any product. Just needed to say, this is our white paper. So we're going to, and they pump. So even ICOs, people are just like they're doing NFT. People are just pumping money into ICOs. Many of those ICOs never saw the light of day. The founders just chopped the money and walked in. But now it's a bit different because if you don't have a product now and a strong use case, people are going to think twice before give you any attention. So it's important to keep that in mind. So here we are. The sentiment is low right now. People feel that people are beginning to get anxious. In terms of this cycle, there's a lot of arguments really. Some people say this is a circus rally. So there are a lot of people that are in disbelief because now we're making a lower high, quote unquote, and I'll show you the charts very shortly. But other people feel we're just back to optimism from falling off the ladder from euphoria. I still maintain that we never got to euphoria, because euphoria is euphoria. I mean, it will be apparent when we get to euphoria. Except the Google searches and the data that we have for the last bull run are not correct. But euphoria is it's euphoric. It's what's that word now? So that I'm trying to. Okay. It's almost like ecstasy. Yes, ecstasy. That's the word. Ecstatic. Uh, that's the word I was looking for. That's the way euphoria will feel to many people. Not there yet. We're not far from it, but we're not there yet. In terms of the charts, they look at the Bitcoin charts for now, and on the various linings to the daily. So here is where, I mean, from my point of view, I think that we literally have just corrected, because we've been sitting on the edge of the upper border of the standard deviation for a while now, and basically just corrected to the lower part. So many people feel that okay, because we're going to keep trailing and going down. While I would say, yeah, that's a good possibility that we trail down, but I don't think we're trailing down for long. And the reason being that we're very close to the cycle end. We've not had a blow off top. And as a result, we don't have good grounds to really, call it quits. And usually market makers want to put themselves in a position of maximum profit to cash out of the market. At this point, they have very little to cash out of the market with, because we literally, how much? We literally twice, yeah, we are 2x or 1x. We are barely 100% from the last all-time high at 20K. So we are 20K to 40 something K. Oh, it doesn't make sense. So we're not there yet. But right now, because of this market structure, it shows that we do have a correction. Very likely that touch on 40K or even 42K again, because the real last race of time between 44 and 42. So I think we're going to see ourselves in this region for a few more days before we go into. In the near term, I think 67 is guaranteed. By the time we break 67, it will be probably a vertical move side. Really why? So this is the yes, yeah. So this charts, the weekly chart of Bitcoin, and I'm using this particular one because the exchange is an old exchange and has data all the way back to 2013. I'm going to show you something. Just be observing this chart as I'm rolling it. So this is 2012. This is the blow off top for like That was the peak. Then the market came into force up until after the halving, and then see how small this whole game. I mean, it went from 171 to peak of 1,000 plus. Then started to take off, and when it did take off, took off from close to the previous all-time high. Did a first step to double it or triple it, which is similar to what we have now. Went from 20,000 to 60,000, took a dip back, 1,008. Then took another one to 4,000, took a dip back to 3,000, and went all the way to 19,000. The reason I'm showing you this chart is to show you that the market structure has a behavior, and even the markets are product of habits and cycles. So the same way you see these dips like this before the markets blew up and went 1, 2, 3, 5 straight weeks of blow up top. In the former bull run, we had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 weeks blow up top. So right now, this is where we are. We've had a similar structure. So same way 2013 was small relative to 2017, 2018. We're beginning to lay up for that. However, the only difference is that our first major drop down on the way up. This is probably looking like a second one. If this holds for another week, what it means is that we're likely going to have a reversal of the third week that will push the price upward. Now, if that happens, just by plotting guys and financial treatments, and have a good idea of where the market is. So in the first instance, we have to, as a matter of necessity, we have to get to 100K, as you can see, based on these Fibonacci levels. In the second instance, we wanted to drag it, have a projection somewhere, but it's too far off here. In the best case scenario, it's sitting at almost 300,000 Bitcoin. Well, that's a far cry from where we are right now. Not impossible in the near term. 1 or 2 years might be approaching that level. What we need to bear in mind that we're not at the blow off. As I've shown you, the charts were really. So in terms of price action, I expect that this structure we're looking at here looks like what is known as the bearish engulfing. Could either push us down to the median, which is 42,000 coming week, or test 42,000 again just to be sure. Almost like it don't, because now 42,000 is almost like a supply demand on the charts. So my test 42,000 again just to be sure that we have supply before moving up. Why it is ominous in that it's not as high as where we were before. The fundamental supports that we're still going higher essentially, and in that kind of play out here where we had 7,000 crashed down to 40 or 43, then we picked up the following week, then went up again. Of course, it's pertinent to know that that was in the running up to the initial peak we had in before the market started. But I think this is the first major pullback we've had since literally since July. Yeah, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 weeks. In 8 weeks, this is the first major pullback we've had. And the two likely scenarios we're going to have. We either have a scenario like, which I think looks very pertinent or very imperative, sorry, or we have a scenario like this, which we have a bearish engulfing, and we have another candle confirming it, then we push up. But because we're already close already close. 42K is a key level now. But because we're already close, might drop down, test it even to 39K and push up from there. And the reason I'm thinking along this line is if I'm a market maker, the best way to make money from everybody, make everybody feel that we're now in the bear market, because put in a lower low, and then we didn't quite get to the previous high. Then when everybody is short, wipe out all the shots. By that time, there'll be nobody left. And then they can play with the market, the spot market and put price. Until everybody scrambles in, maybe 1 or 2 weeks later, by which time the price is like added 1 digit to the current digit and nobody is able to buy at any price below 90K. So that's my thinking in terms of what I think is going to unfold the coming weeks. Same can be expected. In terms of what's it called? Bitcoin dominance. This is another thing. In terms of Bitcoin dominance has been trending down. Yeah, so Bitcoin dominance has been trending down. And if you remember our discussion about Bitcoin dominance, I did mention that we have a bottom from day at 39. Show you. So now we touch 39 again, and we bounce off 39. What that tells me is that we have a few more days either to consolidate around this region, or Bitcoin gains strength, or we're going to drop down to the lows of 2018, which is 36. But we're already very close to all-time lows. Before 39, we had 50, then we had 42, we had 44. So now we're close to all-time lows for Bitcoin dominance. If we go any further down, we're going to see a bounce. So right now we have a bounce. We have a bounce on this weekly, which means that this trend is getting tired, really, really and truly. But I need to wait for the weekly chart. That tells me more in terms of the story. So we bounced off this key level, it's 95. We're currently sitting on. If next week does not close below 39, but next week closes below 39, then I can expect that we have 1 week time Bitcoin is like come crazy. Because once this bottoms out, Bitcoin is going to, because it means that we've exhausted all the what's it called now, all the supply for altcoins. So people will quickly move out. That's the price of Bitcoin. And it coincides the number of other metrics that I'm looking at rather, that suggests that we're probably like 10 days away from another rapid for Bitcoin. In terms of, I think that's enough for today. I've actually almost overshot my time. In terms of the question of the day, that's whether the bull run is over. I think from everything I've told you so far, I've been able to convince and not confuse you. Later, as we say, that the bull run is not yet over. We're close, but I can tell you it's not yet over. Before it's over, you will see your account, and you have to clean your eyes many times a day to remind yourself that this is actually my portfolio. That's when you know that run is coming to an end. So thank you. I'll take questions now. If you have questions, Instagram, type in your questions. Do you have additional questions? Okay. 2 questions. You notice KSM is one of the few that seems to be faring in this current bear market. Please, do you have any news or prediction? Well, I've told you about KSM, and I still said it a few days ago on the WhatsApp group. I think KSM has the power to go to 0.1 Bitcoin. I don't think people understood that statement. When I said KSM has the power to go to 0.1 Bitcoin, what I'm saying is that if Bitcoin starts selling at 100K, KSM has the power to go to 10K. So I'm very, 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 very careful about selling my KSM. I've told the story many times about how I sold my KSM last year, and I paid for it dearly. Because if I didn't sell it last year and I sold it in April, I'll be largessing right now, to say the least. But because KSM has very little supply, just to show you, let me go back on the tokenomics a bit. It has very little supply. It makes it very, very difficult for the price to crash too much. So this is KSM. When I originally bought KSM last year, it was here. It was in this region. It was $10, $9. KSM was in this region when I bought it last year. Then in December, I got fed up. I guess I just felt maybe the bull run I wasn't satisfied with the bull run yet. I got fed up and sold my KSM, sold it around, around $50. And then, boom, March, $200. Then boom, again, $400. Because KSM has very small supply, as you can see, 9.6 million. It makes the token very valuable. And because KSM is the commercialized test box for people in IT, you understand what I'm saying? It's the commercialized test system of the Polkadot ecosystem. Sorry for the rhyme, but that's exactly what it is. It's the test blockchain for the Polkadot ecosystem. So the people launching on Polkadot ecosystem first have to launch on Kusama as proof of concept before launching on, before applying to launch on the DOTS ecosystem by auction. So Kusama is really a wild child for the DOTS ecosystem. If it wasn't that I knew that the bull run would come to an end, I wouldn't sell my Kusama at all. Of course, I know that no matter how low the price goes, it's still going to be of value in the coming bull run. And it's a very strong, needless to say, it's a very strong one. You can see by the tokenomics. So KSM can do anything between 1 to 10,000. That's what I'm saying in summary. Uni is now going to have a lot of competitors, as I've shown from people like DYDX. Oh yeah, DYDX. Should I mention DYDX? Somebody was asking about the drop. So DYDX new stock for Uniswap. I gave it as a coin to buy yesterday. Was it yesterday or the day before yesterday? And the reason I said buy it was that it has the same market cap. Total supply as Uniswap, but the price is. It opened at. It's very funny. It opened at dollars, I think, and then jumped. So yes, it opened at $2 on another exchange. By the time it listed on CoinMarketCap, it was already $12. It went as high as $16 yesterday, and that's just on the back of launching. So the launch between Wednesday and yesterday, and they've launched on almost half of the exchange. Let me show you. Yeah. So if I say see all markets, you see all the places that are listed. In 2 days, this is all the markets that they're in. So apart from the fact, the kind of rigor that they made us go through, able to get airdrop, the platform is a little bit more sophisticated than Uniswap. So on Uniswap, you can just do buy and sell. On this exchange, you can do Kelvin, do you have a question?
No.
Yeah, I have one.
Okay.
Hello?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so I think mine is just first of all, thanks for the usual enlightenment. So, given the analysis you've just let us have now about the Bitcoin drop.
Yeah.
What actions do you recommend at this time? Saying that yes, generally alts are also dropping, are crashing generally at this time. So do you advise we just hodl, or do you advise maybe we convert to USDT and hold and then buy when the prices crash, to their in a few days, and then we'll buy again, or we should just leave things the way they are? What's your advice based on all the analysis now?
Well, personally, I will move some my stocks Bitcoins. I already told, that was last Saturday, that was about a week ago. I already sent a message to everybody that you should take some profits off your odds to USDT. And that was because I was foreseeing a correction, even though I didn't know it was going to be as forceful and as deep as what we had on Wednesday. But I was foreseeing that a correction was in the offing and it made sense to take some profits, especially coins that have been going since last year. So I took some profits. And I think I mentioned in the last week's call that I was on my Stellar. Not Stellar is not coin, but I've had it for a while. The price has not moved and it's just gone back to break even. So I decided to sell it so that I could position for other altcoins and also position in stable coins. So now it's imperative to break it up. So you can break your portfolio into, let's say, 3/3. Yes, 3 parts. One part to buy Bitcoin, one part to buy stable coins, and the other part hodl. So you can still leave your hodl back, especially for coins bought this year. You can still leave them. But if you bought coins from last year and you made some profits, it'll be a good time to bank some profits. It's already late because we've dropped about 20. It's still not bad to bank some profit, no matter how small. It might not be up to 30%, but bank some profit in USDT just for opportunities. Because I think it's fair to say that Bitcoin may still drop to like 40 or 42K before the move up. So it might be a good time to bank some of this profit. And for those who attended the last calls, I was saying that you might want to convert some of those alts to Bitcoin because some of them might not, especially major alts, might not move so much when Bitcoin starts to move crazily. And then cash out on the move of Bitcoin, then flip it to altcoins, then cash out on the move of altcoins, as I said on the course. So that's my advice. My advice has not changed. And that's what I've been giving this information about, taking time to cash out some. The reason I'm saying that is because nobody can actually accurately predict the eventual top of the market. And because of that, it's important to get into the habit of taking profit. And I've been stressing it because I don't want to get to January and be like, David, you didn't make money. And I've seen from the past that the only way you can ensure that you make sizable profit is position your mind to start taking some off the table. I mean, there's nothing that's going to happen. Okay, if you bought a coin, let's say in March last year, when all the coins were down, chances are, even in the coming bear market, it's not going to be as low as what you bought last year. It might be close, but you might not get as close as low as it was then. So hodling might not be a problem, especially if the major odds. But for all the smaller, small, lightweight odds, those ones usually drop like you saw that one, 97, 99% of the highs after the bull run is over. So it's important that you're prepared, you're mentally prepared to take profit. I know it's difficult. And it's going to be more difficult when your portfolio swells in size 2 or 3x from what it is now. But be mentally prepared to take that profit because that profit is going to be taken anyway, either by you or by somebody else. So that's my advice, Shani.
All right, thank you, Dr. Demi.
Yeah.
Yeah, please, like what happened on Tuesday, is there a way for someone to know that such is about to happen. Though you told us that we should take profit and all those to be on the safe side, but because I was seeing it live, I was online. Solana was among the coin that was shot that day, and I saw it live. In fact, I didn't know what to know. I didn't know what to do, whether to sell at that moment. I was just looking at the thing dropping down, and I put my hand in the office looking at it. But what I'm trying to say is that all these metrics going on chain, is it possible to know that, oh, this is about to happen? Maybe looking at the volume of what that's happening on chain, is it possible to know that? I know definitely that we are already on the green side and anything can happen thereafter. So, but I'm just thinking from the technical analysis and all those things. Is it possible to access this information maybe before it happened?
Nobody knows what's going to happen. But you can tell. You're not going to know. The same way I told you that Saturday, I could tell because I had all sorts of metrics, both on chain and even on the derivatives market, and especially on the derivatives market. And I've spoken about it before, talking about the funding rate. And when the funding rate is too high, it's just natural. It's almost like even the exchanges themselves have set up their trading bot and algorithm to sell off when the funding rate gets to a particular level. So when the funding rates keep going high and high and high, and the volume is reducing, it's almost inevitable that there will be a pullback. Now, the degree of the pullback depends on when it happens. If it happens on a weekday, especially in the afternoon, when the US traders are online, it's going to be massive. It's always brutal because they have a lot of cash and they can, they have a lot of cash to speculate with, so they can push the market very quickly in a short period of time. And that's why I say, because you don't know when the final drop is going to be. So, like they say, you need to take profit on the way up, take profit on the way down. Some people already now have zeroed in their mind that technically the bull market is over because we've not hit the same high that we were before, which was 64K. But if you look at it in the context of where we're coming from, which was 33 or was that the 29K, we've been pumping from 29K since, and this is the first real break that the market has had to pull back. So I think it's a healthy pullback, technically speaking. But what I can tell you is that you will know when the bull run is over. I think I will have told you when the bull run is over. I will tell you definitely. You will have seen it on the charts to say, guys, I think the bull run is over now. We might see another 2 or 3 weeks of fireworks, but I think it's time to pack it up and lock in our profits. So just the same way I told you on Saturday that I think you should bank some profit. I think there's an imminent correction. The world will spread around, and of course, apart from the technical stuff, from forums where you get whispers on whale charts in terms of what some whales are talking about. So when whales start to talk about something, and they are technically looking like the market is unstable, that it's imminent. So definitely, from a technical point of view, which is purely mathematical, this current cycle ends in September. However, we know that it's always plus or minus. So because where we are currently is still far from where we ought to be, we know that even if the cycle ends in another 10 days, the price of Bitcoin needs to go to a new all-time high. My projection is that we will hit a new all-time high very quickly, and the price will pump for like 3 weeks max. I think it's 2 weeks or 3 weeks, because you can see the last one pumped for only 4 weeks. I think it will be shorter now because more people are aware. The price will pump crazily for a couple of weeks and then it will play too. Once it corrects after that time, I don't think it's going to make that high again. And by that time, everybody will be selling. And because everybody is selling, the price starts crashing, and the price starts crashing fast. So if you belong to this forum, you will know when the price is due for. Go ahead.
So with this continuous shortening the market, I begin to think that will Bitcoin hit 100K? On his way to 100, people will see short it again and will continue to go down.
Do you want to bet me?
No. Of course, I'm not an expert. I'm a public health physician. So you are into it, and I know that you know what you are saying. But just look at it that because in those days in the 2017, we went in battling with shorting market like this, as we are having now.
Well,
it wasn't smooth then too, but it wasn't
smooth. It wasn't smooth, and that was why I went to show you this chart, because this chart very indicative. So I see how small in comparison 2017 is to where we are now in terms of scale. We're talking on the scale of then we're talking about the scale of between 1,000 and 20,000. Now we're talking about between 10,000 and 60,000. And if you look at it then, it wasn't all smooth as well, because before the blow off top that we had, which was 6 weeks, 1, 2, 3, 5, 6 weeks long, but it was more than 6 weeks because it had initial 1, 5, 6. They had 6 weeks of price gains, 1 week of then another 6 weeks in the final run-up, which is what I'm saying, that it's similar to what we have now. Now we've had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7 weeks of run-up. Now we have a pullback. What I'm saying is, after this week's pullback, I don't think the next week is going to close as a red candle. It's likely to as a green candle, that colored blue. Then we have another few weeks to go up. Now, those few weeks are the weeks we have to hit blow off top. And I mean, purely plotting on Fibonacci lines, it means that the lowest we can get is 7. That's the lowest we can get. I mean, we can get to 97K, and that's the end of the market. It will still be a successful bull market, considering the fact that the previous one was 20K. But they will always short it because between now and 2017, now have institutions came in here, 2017. Institutions came into the beginning of December 2017. In fact, Bitcoin started crashing the day CME futures opened. This week of 25th of December, was when Bitcoin started crashing and never went up. This week, yeah, it was that week that they opened Bitcoin futures in CME and never went back after. So it's important to keep that. It's important to keep that in perspective and understand that it's always happened. So before here, see, 2 weeks down, went up to about 1,000. Then the sudden second week 1,001. Then it dropped to 700 within 2 weeks, which is almost half. Then it pumped again 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 weeks. Then it crashed 3 weeks, crashed from 1,003 to 892. Now think about it: 1,003 to 892 is almost 50% crash over the course of 3 weeks. Before the final leg up, even had a break in between. They had another 1 week of drop. Then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 weeks. Then another one. So it went 9 weeks up to 2009, then dropped for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 weeks up to 1,008. So the drop is normal. It's just that is more prominent and forceful now because you now have a lot of institutions that are trading along with retail traders. These were normal market moves times past. So nothing out of the ordinary.
Thank you. So lastly, please, whenever I hear, maybe you read that Waze move USDT, maybe 10 billion USDT, then when there's a whale moved maybe 10 billion BTC, I always think when it's USDT, probably they want to buy. When they move BTC, I'll be thinking maybe probably they want to cash out or that, or maybe they are moving their profit off the exchange. I don't know the implication. I try to read around it and understand what's actually going on. Because most time when there's a wave move maybe 10 billion, 30 billion USDT. Oh, probably they want to buy. I don't
Well,
know.
it
I don't
depends.
know.
It depends on which cycle. There was a diagram I showed. I don't know where that diagram is. I'll look for it. That talks about altcoin cycles during the year. That diagram explains how altcoins pump and dump literally during the year. So if whales are moving Bitcoin, sometimes it might just be to move the Bitcoin to buy altcoins with the intention of buying back more Bitcoins. So
Okay.
it depends on where you are in the cycle. That's what the movement to be for. So in the case of April and May, just 2 days. That one was very short. 2 days before the time, and if I didn't know until after the fact that some whales were moving thousands of Bitcoin to the exchange. But I know that the this one is going to be a very what's the word now? Italian job, because a lot of people are aware there are so many on-chain metrics that people are watching, so they know that everybody is watching out for the back. But so the best way to do it is to do it when everybody is off guard, and everybody can be off guard in the situation we are now. So that you need to think about everything I've said tonight and think about how I'm trying to frame it. Think like the market maker. If I was the market maker, how can I ensure that I'm getting the most money out of everybody? I need to catch everybody off guard. Everybody's on guard right now. People are looking at these prices and like, this was 60K, this was 64 the week up. We've not been able to break 60K this May. Now we've come up here, we've pretty much aborted at 52K. Everybody's anxious, everybody's on the edge, everybody's holding their seats here. I mean, as a market maker, it doesn't pay me because immediately I did sell, everybody's going to sell off. So I might not even be able to exit my position as a market maker if I'm here. So the best thing to do is to send the market into the stratosphere, and everybody will lose guard and start, So imagine Bitcoin suddenly in 2 weeks goes to 90K. Everybody will start saying Bitcoin is going to 500K. And then maybe it pushes to 150K. But yes, we're going to have a million. The best way to cash out the market for a market maker is to catch people on our ways. And right now, we are not on our ways. If me, I'm not on our ways, can imagine. Most people are not on our ways. Everybody is watching out. When do we cash out? When do we cash out? So really, that's not the design. It won't pay any market maker to cash out now because everybody's going to cash out with them, as it were. And you also need newer participants. Okay, I need to mention that part. You have been trading stock, you understand what I mean? For the market to come to an end effectively, for the cycle to come to an end, you need to create new interests. Because otherwise, everybody just lose interest and go. The desire or the intent of the market maker is to ensure that they keep interest sustained and they're able to still cash out. So the best way to do that is to make sure that in line with the halving phenomenon, the price keeps going up in line with supply. And because now you now have institutions, now we've had the first sovereign state using Bitcoin as the legal tender, that means attention is never going to get away from Bitcoin again. In fact, it has become legitimate, as it were. So even if we're going to have a bear market, and I think I've proposed this thesis before, that even though we're going to have a bear market, I don't think it's going to be characteristic 4-year cycle bear market we used to have like before. And the reasons are clear. One, we now have institutional interest. Now we have sovereign state interest. I've talked about El Salvador, I've talked about Ukraine. Half of Latin America is just waiting a few months to see how the El Salvador story goes. If they see that, they're actually doing well. For instance, El Salvador has saved themselves $400 million per annum that they were paying to Western Union by moving to Bitcoin. So that $400 million is going to find its way into the economy. Some things are going to change. They're trying to build geothermal Bitcoin mining machines or mining farms. That's going to generate some money for the economy. They're going to woo a lot of, new generation Bitcoin billionaires and millionaires. it is going to create a model of what Bitcoin can do for society. Unless the US starts saying they have weapons of mass destruction, I think they'll be otherwise fine the next few years. So that shows a new era in terms of the market cycle. There will be bear markets, definitely. Brutal one, but it might not be as long as and as deep as the ones that it will be deep in the short term. So if you were to, let's say for purpose of discussion, let's say this bull run ends in the third week of November. The bull run ends in the third week of November. What it means is that from that period and probably for 6 to 9 months, we might have a 90% value or 60% or 80% value write-off from the market, meaning people just take off their money and run first and go and hide and wait till when the market cools down. So in this case, for example, let's say we went to, for analysis sake, let's say we went to, let's say we went to 120K, and from 120K we have a 80% drop. What if 60% drop? Percent drop from 120K, 48,000, which is quite reasonable. Or let's say, yeah, 48,000 is reasonable in the first instance. So if we drop 60%, it means that probably drop, where is that market? I have another chart, total market cap. This total market cap chart also shows that we can get 3.2 trillion, sorry, at the end of this cycle. So, or let's say 3.4 or 3.5, 3.4. If you pull down 60% from 3.4, that will bring us down to 1.3, which was where we were in July. Why am I saying this? And I mean, there's every likelihood of that. If you get to 3.4 and get down here during the bear market, in which case people have cashed out and everybody's, holding their money in stable coins or back in fiat and looking to buy back into gem coins or on the case maybe. What usually happens in bear markets, but it's different now because you now have that are running on, you have ones that are actively stacking their balance sheets with Bitcoin. It's a different ballgame. So we'll have the bull market. The price will pull back like crazy. People will sell off. Many will become millionaires. Many will become billionaires. Some people will hold the bags. The new entrants will hold the bags next cycle or sell off into the bear market. But the adoption curve will continue to grow. So what I'm trying to do, and that I've been trying to do in the past 8 weeks, is to prepare our mind to the first position to take those profits before other people take them. Any other question before we? Mr. Wale, do you have a question?
Yeah, I just want to clarify something because, maybe the last explanation you gave now kind of answers the question I was going to ask originally, because we look at the countries that are adopting Bitcoin and making it a legal tender. If the price will go ahead and crash by, let's assume 50%, except probably from where we are now, the situation gets to maybe like 100, like we are saying. If we say it crashed by 50%, that means it come back to 50,000.
Yeah.
So in that case, well, probably the countries that have adopted the Bitcoin will have found a way to put some of the gains into their reserves. Otherwise, if it crashed by 50% and a lot of people that are already holding Bitcoin, their purchasing power is reduced as well. Okay. So I am now having a feeling that, I'm not too sure. I have never been in this bull run a full scale, so to say. So I wouldn't say I've experienced a full cycle, but I am of the view that, yeah, because of the adoption rate at which it is going, because what happened on the 9/9 was quite a bit surprise to me, because I was like, okay, if we are having almost everybody on Reddit being advised to go ahead and buy as much as Bitcoin, I was expecting the price to actually go up. And I don't know whether it's you that said, okay, at least you can buy Bitcoin now and sell probably on Sunday. I just felt like, yeah, the thing didn't, I don't, anyway, we are not yet on Sunday. I don't want to say it might not go beyond what we have now, but in a situation whereby we have the thing reversed to probably 40, 42, 40 something, people that buy when the call was made, hoping that the adoption in El Salvador will push the price up to some extent, we will have lower if it's dropped down, if it dip within that short period of time. I don't know whether I'm making sense anyway, but yeah, that's just my feeling.
Okay. So yes, the expectation was that the price was going to go up because of that adoption, but it appeared that the market already priced in in retrospect, it appeared that the market already priced in that bet, and that was responsible for the gain from 40. There's a general saying in stock and forex market that you buy the rumor, sell the news. So it appeared that the market just decided to sell off that day. Now, even though it didn't pay us because we were buying in anticipation that we're going to get a pump, but for the people of El Salvador, got the airdrop on that day, it pays them because they have more Bitcoin for their dollar.
Okay. Okay.
Because on that day, when the price dropped to 42K, even El Salvador bought an additional 120 million on the back of the one they bought the day before. So that day was the day they were airdropping the Bitcoin to their fellows, to their citizens. So everybody that got $30 worth of Bitcoin, that by the time the price recovers in a couple of days or in a couple of weeks, they already have made a gain on their $30 because if they gave them at, let's say, 40K, 45K, let's based on today's price. If they came in at 45K, and then Bitcoin goes back to 50K, they made 10% gain already on the airdropped Bitcoin that they got. So for the call I made that people should buy, you hold your ground because it's going to go back up. And like I said, the reason this had to happen, that the sell-off had to happen, was everybody had put in long positions on leverage ahead of September 9, hoping that the market was going to pump. So, and market makers are very, what do they call that now? They're always attracted to high funding rates. Funding rates are how much people are borrowed to buy positions. So when funding rates are positive, extremely positive, it means that a lot of people have long positions on the price of Bitcoin. When funding rates are negative, it means that there's a lot of people in short positions, which is what was happening here between June and July. So now, immediately the funding rates resets. Immediately we drop that day, funding rates reset back to green. I don't have the charts here, but I can show you the metrics that show funding rate across all the exchange. All that was all red. Immediately after that drop, reset to green, meaning that all the margin trades have been wiped off. Of course, billions of dollars was lost on that day. By the time we retest this region, and definitely we're going to retest this region. Two reasons why we're going to retest the region. One is that this candle is really very low, and let me switch back to daily. And on the daily, we can see that the subsequent 3 days, no candle has come close. So it's usually an indication of a short-term bear trend. However, like I said, for for the market to move and move rather quickly, and for market makers to make the most gains, they need to be in control, full control of the market. When everybody is on leverage long, they're not in full control because everybody is going to gain when the price moves on and nobody's going to sell off, and they won't have people to sell off on. But when they do that kind of sharp move, everybody's forced to sell. Now, the people that have sold, everybody has have stood on the sidelines because this price is not going back up. So everybody's looking at this right now saying, this price is coming down, this price is coming down, this price is coming down. It will most likely be a repeat of what we have between the 20th and the 21st of July. For context, what happened then was, this was the, let me say, no-go area for Bitcoin. Everybody was saying 30K must hold, 30K must hold. So even when, we bounced off it a number of times, then the market was slowly crawling back. And then those last 2 days, suddenly hit 30K and went with 30K. I remember saying that the next day it doesn't close above or below 29K. That was the end. And what then happened was the candle that came up the next day just did, that was 30, 29, did a 10% gain in one single day. And from there we knew that, okay, yes, tide has changed. So in the same way, this is to confuse the market, because this shows you clearly that this is a pullback reversal leading to a bear trend. I can't say some things on air, but I can tell you for real that the pullback is meant to last at least 5 to 10 days, after which the market is supposed to recover. My opinion, as I said earlier, I'm looking at 42K or 40K as the effort of last results before the bounce. But what would then happen is, because so many people, by the time we get to 40K, many people's buyers will have shifted to short positions. So many people have entered short positions again in anticipation that this is all over. So when they flip it that time, the price is going to go stratospheric, and it's just probably going to be for a few days, and then go hit up a blow off top and take out everybody in shorts, and then we'll start our journey once again. But as I've advised, I think it was Dr. Yashandobi, that you can split your portfolio into 3 now. For coins that have been in profit since last year, take some profits, or convert your profits to Bitcoin, or better still, just convert most of those coins to Bitcoin, or convert them to alts and wait for the drop to 42K. Then for the second bit, convert the alts to USDT, any other stable, and wait for a further drop. I suspect 44K. If 44K holds, then we'll consolidate at 44K. If 44K does not hold, 42K is the next one. 42K to 40K is another good this region. Where is it now? This region is a fairly good support for the price of Bitcoin right now. So if this doesn't hold, 44K is here, which is where we were before we started moving up. This was where we dropped to the last time, and that's why it's hitting it currently and it's bouncing off. So if this holds, then it continues to go. If it doesn't hold, we'll have another sharp drop to try to retest 42.9, 43K essentially. If it drop down and we don't get to 42.9, then we're good. We know that the reversal is done, and then we can move on. So because we don't know and we can't pinpoint the exact top of the market, we can only prepare for it. One last thing to say though is that Bitcoin ETFs are supposed to be passed or approved in the US this month. 2 major names actually. One is the bill to tax crypto, that one around they call it US infrastructure bill. It's supposed to pass on when is the 12th? Yeah, it's supposed to pass on Monday. Sunday/Monday. It's supposed to go to be signed on Monday/Sunday. So That bill is taking effect on Monday, which is 2 days' time. So I expect that bill to pull down the market a bit. And next week, I have it on very strong authority that we'll have a pullback in S&P 500. So if S&P 500 pulls back next week, I think we'll have a slight pullback next week. Then Bitcoin will easily bounce off. So for people who are stock trading, please take notes. I want to get out of your S&P 500 positions. It's not a financial advice, of course. It's just word on the street. So that's my position, and that's how I'm playing it. So a third in Bitcoin, a third in stable coins, the rest in HODL. I hope it's clear.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. Okay, we've had quite a very extensive session today. Thank you very much, everyone, for joining. You have a wonderful week. If I have any updates on any of these positions, I'll definitely send you the updates on the WhatsApp group. Kenny, do you have a question?
No, I was just going to say thank you.
All right. You have a lovely weekend, everyone. See you next week.
All right, you too. Thank you.
Thank you, Demi.
Yes.
Next week, we'll have further pullback.
Sorry?
Yeah, you mentioned some statement, but I lost you a bit. I was asking whether you said